Welcome to another episode of Inspired Voices. My name is Oliver Riera, and this is Zack Roberson.
Hey, what's up, man? Thank you, Oliver. It's a pleasure to be here and share this with all you guys on Inspired Voices. I love the show, man, and it's an honor and a privilege, bro.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Yeah. Why don't you tell everyone where you're from?
Well, yo, check this out, right?
What you do?
What I do? Oh, well, that's all good. Yeah, I can do that too. What I do? Right now, I'm rolling with the Nappy Head Funk Army, professional musician. I've been that since I was like maybe 10 years old. And right now I'm just making that funk happen, keeping that funk alive. I got a podcast, Funk from the Front Seat, that we do, and I'm a Club Funky ambassador for Patty and Bootsy Collins. I'm the vice president, so we keeping it all around the world for the funk, keeping it real and making it work, man. Hey. Spreading peace and love, bro.
My man.
Yes, sir.
Dude, I love your style, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Like, just not even just like just the clothes or anything, but just the vibe, you know what I mean? The way you speak, it's very flowy.
Thank you. You did something for me, man. That was dope when you took our first promo pictures when we first came back.
All right.
From COVID.
That was your first ones
after
COVID?
That was the first one coming back. Remember, we was in the garage.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, and you took those photos, man, and that's what boom kicked us back in. Because everything was stagnant before then. So man, I'm proud of you, bro. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, man.
Number love, man.
Yeah, absolutely. But where you from, man?
Yo, so I was born Long Island, Bayshore, tiny little town, not really well known, Suffolk County. Went to mostly, middle class, elementary schools and high schools and stuff like that. Bayshore was cool because when I was, coming up in that hippie era, catching the tail end of the 60s and the riots and all of that, we never really saw that. We only kind of dug it when it was coming at our face as kids. But when I used to go in the city, my dad was a Baptist minister. And I used to go to Baltimore on church rides and go to New Jersey and go to Harlem and Brooklyn and see all these bombed out places and building this and that. And it made me question a lot as a kid. I was a suburban kid.
Yeah.
And I was trying to understand why that was that and what happened that I saw on TV with the riots. And on Long Island, it was chill. We didn't know about it until I saw it.
At a young age,
how
old?
I was like 10 years old when Martin Luther King got shot. I was born in 1958.
Oh, wow.
So, man, I'm like a prehistoric dinosaur that looked good.
Hey, yeah.
I've been blessed with some alien DNA, but we'll talk about that on another show.
But to be that young and have that awareness between your neighborhood and other neighborhoods.
Yeah.
What made you interested in finding out?
What it was the music, because gospel music was gospel music. And coming up in the church, my dad was a Baptist minister. I was a PK. So when I would go to these other places and meet these other musicians from Queens, from Brooklyn, from Baltimore, from Jersey, from DC, we would travel there, right? I would be like, wow, I'm part of that, because it's a church community. Back then, the black community, the church was the country club. It was the social hall. It was the political environment. It was the place where you went to get nurtured. It was the place where you went for knowledge. It was the whole thing encompassed in that one ball of wax, the black church. It was the backbone of the community at the time.
Did it feel like a small community, even though it was big?
Yeah, it did, because every Baptist church had their thing. That's why we would battle. You know what I'm saying? You go to Queens, you're going to get your butt kicked if you playing drums and you ain't up on it. And in Brooklyn, they had their style of church. Harlem had their style of church. Long Island, we had our style of church. So when the churches would come together and have these big gospel jubilees, they called them, it would be lots of musicians hanging out backstage. And we would all be talking about it. The contrast was in my high school, in junior high school, I grew up listening to Led Zeppelin, Kiss, Blue Oyster Cult, Edgar Winter and the White Trash, Johnny Winter, Chicago. I was listening to Mandrill, Earth, Wind and Fire, Parliament Funkadelic,
so all
Buddy Miles. Yeah, so we were in church, you can't play that stuff. But in our garage, that's what we was doing. And that's how Long Island was slightly different. because in the city, they didn't have basements or garages. So they had to practice in other places.
Yeah.
Long Island, we had basements. So bands could come over, parents didn't mind. And that's how we cultivated it. And what every great musician do, and I tell y'all right out there, I'm going to look in the camera, when you mesh the two, the street, and you got the gospel, those are your best musicians. And that's how I came up under that.
What instruments were you playing at the time?
At the time, my first instrument, believe it or not, was saxophone.
Okay.
Couldn't play it. Chipped my teeth. Couldn't get the reed right.
Did you chip your teeth doing saxophone?
Yeah, because so I asked my father, I was like, yo, I got to play something else, right?
Yeah.
So then they switched me to upright bass. I played upright bass for 3 years in the orchestra. Couldn't read a note. Was faking it the whole time. What I would do
Ear training.
is listen
There you
to
go.
what she was playing. This girl named Laura, she was playing it. I was listening to what she played. Then I'd go home and memorize it and play it and come back and play it. But then they got hip to me after about the third year when I was just jamming. And the orchestra, Mr. Burns, he looked at me and said, what are you playing? And I said,
It took them 3 years to realize
it took him 3 years. Y'all was jamming, bro. So he said, all right, you out. So then he said, go to the drum room. And I go to the drum room, and it's nothing but snare drums in there. So I played snare drum, And after that, I remember it was like 1972. And Buddy Miles, Jimi Hendrix and all that. Jimmy had died, but Buddy Miles came out, a live album, and it was at at the Fillmore on Thanksgiving or something. Jimi Hendrix did this thing.
Yeah.
And Buddy Miles was a drummer that played and sang. He caught my ear, and I was like, this guy's playing and singing. I said, that's it. That's what I want to do, because I always sang in church.
What about it?
When Buddy Miles played and sang them changes and things like that, it hit my spirit and soul because he was playing with the greatest guitar player ever put down on this planet, Jimi Hendrix. And I said, if Jimi Hendrix this guy is singing in Jimi Hendrix's band, playing and singing at the same time, and I want to be a drummer, I said, I want to play rock, and I want to play with that Jimi Hendrix kind of sound, that rock stuff, and I got to be able to sing. So I started practicing, right? Begged my father for a drum set. And I tell you, Reverend Roberson, my father, love him. God bless him, right? My mother died when I was 7. So I grew up without a mom.
Okay.
So my father always tried to help me and appease what I was doing when it came to instruments.
Okay. So yeah, that's that support.
Yeah, he gave me that. Now, my neighbors and everybody laughed. My family laughed, and my friends all laughed at me. Oh, you ain't going to do nothing with that. Oh, Reverend Robertson, you wasting your money. He said, nah, let him do that, right? So as I started getting better and better, it took me like 2-3 years to really get it, right? Once I got, because I wanted to play football too in high school, and I was doing that, but I was like, nah, the jocks are getting girls, musicians are getting girls. I'd rather be with the musicians.
Yeah.
And I had great mentors.
What it took you said it took you a couple of years to kind of nail it down and stuff like that?
Yeah, it did, because there was some really great drummers in Bayshore, that I looked up to. This guy named John Lapel played with a band, Jitterbug Jones. This guy named Rosie Threadgill, to this day, taught me how to spin my sticks. When I spin my sticks, it's in honor of Rosie Tush Threadgill. Howard Beeman, my first mentor, he played guitar. He's the one that taught me how to match my foot and what I'm hearing, and then listen to the band. Be the backbone. Don't just try to be that.
Yeah.
Because, when you first want to play drums, you want to be yeah, right. It ain't about that, So he taught me the pocket, and they worked on me for 3 years before they let me get in the best band called Manchild. And when I went in, I took Bobby's place, the guy that taught me how to spin, because he wasn't feeling well, and I jumped in and took his spot. And then that's when it kind of took off for me.
So backing up a little bit, when you were in those 3 years learning, how was that for you? Because like 3 years for a kid, right, seems like a long time. So did you have the patience for it?
Yeah.
Were you frustrated?
It was very frustrating. And I'll tell you why. Because there were so many opportunities that I felt I was missing, but I wasn't. And I tried out for bands and didn't make it. I got rejected, so don't let rejection stop you.
Especially when bands you want to be in and stuff like that.
There was a Santana band that I auditioned for, and I couldn't play Latin music at all. But I went and did it, and they was like, nah, you ain't what we looking for. So I put my head down. But what I did, The summer of 1974, I'll never forget it. I took a pillow and I taped it to the wall with duct tape, and I put my foot pedal there, and all I did for that summer was just
Really?
double bass, hit
Double
that
bass?
hitting that foot pedal, just
That's hard to do, man.
hard to do on the pillow, right? And when I came back that next year, I was fired. I was fired. That's when it switched. I'll tell you a story. I was at a party, and this is when I was 17 years old.
Yeah.
And the guy from the Doobie Brothers, Chuck Duval, his real name is Tom Johnston, but his thing was Tom Johnston. His real name is Chuck Duval.
Yeah.
He was at the party with this girl, Denise, and there was a band playing NYC Review at this house party, and they were a disco band, Johnny Taylor and Disco Inferno and all that stuff, right? And I was there hanging out, partying. We was just getting blasted. Yo, I used to get blasted. We was getting blasted, right? So,
the 70s, right?
yeah. The drummer in the middle of the set threw his sticks down and quit in the middle of the show, the thing that they had got hired for.
Damn.
And I knew the keyboard player, Chuck, right? And he was trying to get me ready for his band anyway, because he kind of knew the drummer, his name was Bobby Half, was going to quit.
Yeah.
So
Did you know that? Like he was going to be doing that?
I knew he was grooming me because he used to come to my house and jam.
Yeah.
But he was playing that disco stuff. And see, I was too young to go in the clubs. I couldn't go. Because at that time, you couldn't go underage. You had to lie or fake it. You had to be 18 years old or over, right? I was 16, 17 years old. So he said, Zach, get up here. And I'm like, holy no. He said, yo, get up here. And the guy, Chuck Duval, he kept saying, I don't want to hurt nobody. I don't want to hurt nobody, right? He said, nah, man, I can't do Doobie Brothers no more because, you know, I got ulcers and I drank too much. He was babbling about all this stuff. He said, yo, bro, he said, here's your shot. Get up there, man. He talked with this California West Coast slide. Like, yo, bro, get up there, bro. Yeah. So I went up there, nailed it, and I was in that band.
Nice.
And that band ended up doing some stuff for the Tramps. New York City.
Okay.
So word of mouth, I became one of the better disco drummers on Long Island.
By accident.
By simply being in the right place at the right time.
Is that something that you wanted to do?
No, because I wanted to be a funkadelic. Disco was cool because it was paying, and there was disco bands everywhere on Long Island.
Yeah.
There was club called OBI. This is when I was 17. The OBI East, OBI North, OBI West, and OBI South, all owned by the same guys, all over Long Island. There was so many clubs. There was so much work, and everybody who's on Long Island would know this. There was so much work for disco bands back then. Everybody was working. I was making more money than my father playing 3 days a week.
Damn.
I was getting paid $150 for gigs. Okay. And I wasn't even the highest paid in the band. Huh. You know, so I was clocking like $500 a week as a kid in high school. You know, so I'm 17 years old, going treating everybody to Slurpees at 7-Eleven, clocking full of money.
You were on top of the world.
Making more money than my dad.
Right.
And he was proud of me. He was like, all right. Then I graduated and bought a bigger drum set.
Okay.
That's when the Funkadelic thing hit me. I was 18 years old. You know.
Right. Where was the switch there?
The switch was I met one of their roadies. And I had always followed P-Funk anyway. Loved their music. They were dressing up. See, for us back then, Parliament Funkadelic, Earth, Wind and Fire, Larry Graham, Sly and the Family Stone, James Brown, those were our black heroes. We didn't have many role models and heroes. It was different then. We didn't have it like it is now where you got LeBron Jameses all over the place. We only had about 5 or 6. I remember when James Brown flipped the whole thing around. James Brown changed the whole thing. When he came out with Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, the next day we all went and got afros. The next day, dashikis. The next day, Power to the People. He flipped it just like that with that one song.
Yeah.
We didn't have no heroes.
I feel like the 70s were a big first for a lot of things.
Dude, let me tell you. And I was in the middle of it. That was the good thing about it. So now it's a 3-pronged thing. Now I got gospel, which is the soul and flavor. I got that street raw, you know, which is like the James Brown Sly. And now I'm understanding Parliament Funkadelic, what they about. Because they were a movement. They dressed different. They looked like me. They had ashy elbows. Their hair wasn't quite white. They were dark, big-nosed black men. They George Clinton and them brought it to the forefront.
Yeah.
It's okay to be funky. And that one song they had, I Just Want to Testify, brought me into them. I had played it for my father. Because remember now, I'm a preacher's kid. I can't really play stuff. Not allowed in the house. So.
What'd your dad think of it?
He said, Testify. That's a church kind of thing. I said, yeah, Dad, testify. Larry Graham came out with the album. He had a song in there called Save Me, you know. And then I started slowly but surely turning my dad onto this music that I wanted to do, right?
Was he accepting of it at first?
He was, because he realized times were changing. My father was always progressive when it came to the ministry.
Man, you got lucky with your dad.
I totally did, because he knew. He was like, okay, there's a movement going on. Mm-hmm. These kids aren't burning stuff down. They're making music about it. Like in the 60s, it was like Black Power, I'm going to burn you down.
Yeah.
But in the 70s, we were like, nah, we ain't really with that violence. We coming off the Woodstock thing. It's about peace, love, and harmony, right? And when I was able to understand, and I still wasn't like, at that point, I was still in a rocky boat when it came to my career and how good I was. But I was starting to stabilize the boat of my musical career and my life at that time. Girls, understanding about sexuality, understanding about people that were different from me, that may be from the LGBTQ plus community, just engulfing, working with those people.
Were you aware of that?
I became more aware because I was working with these people in different bands.
Yeah.
And then one summer, I get a knock on my door. Right? My father answered the door, sees this guy with a big afro. He's like, well, who are you? He's like, I'm Gary in the U.S. Bonds. You know, now Gary in the U.S. Bonds was a big beach music guy. You know, if you look him up, Gary in the U.S. Bonds, he was like before chairman of the board and everything. He was right there in that vein.
Gotcha.
He said, listen, I want to take your son this summer. He said, but, you know, I heard he's good. I want to take him on the road. So I'm like behind my father, like, please just say yes. My father was like, well, like, what do you do? What are you going to do this? He said, listen, I got to have your permission to do it. My father had to sign a permission slip and some kind of waiver thing that I wouldn't drink, I wouldn't be in bars, because I'm still under 18 now. Right? I'm 17 years old. And my father said, all right, you can go. I was like, thank God.
Yeah, man.
First time I went on tour, Gary in the U.S. Bonds, man. And it was like, I might as well have died and went to heaven then.
Yeah, as
I'm
a drummer.
on a tour bus. I'm with grown-ups. They drinking, smoking reefer.
Yeah.
I'm getting the car. I'm like, oh, these girls. You know what I'm saying? We touring.
Let's pause a little bit because like there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm like, you're pretty much on top of the world of feeling like, right? So like, did you have that awareness of this is making it? This is what it takes to make it? And
I did, but because I was a kid, I couldn't process it. It was to me like, this is just the way it's normally supposed to be.
Okay.
And there's a reason why my father let me go, and I'll tell you, because unbeknownst to me, when I turned 18, he told me he was dying of cancer.
Shit.
I had lost my mother, right, at 7.
Mm-hmm.
Now my best friend who took me fishing, taught me how to drive, supported my music, took me to all the gospel plays and everything that my mother used to take me to. In New York, I see every play possible, Fiddler on the Roof, La Turandot, operas, Porgy and Bess. I had that upbringing. At the Apollo, I seen little Stevie Wonder playing a harmonica when he was playing drums. I seen Marvin Gaye, one of the greatest ever, playing drums at the Motown Review at the Apollo. My father made sure. 5 Blind Boys, Mahalia Jackson and gospel. I seen it all. And he told me, I came home, the tour was great. I'm a senior now in high school, right? I quit the football team and I dedicated my whole life to music, right? And I come home one day and he's coughing. And he's like, yo, you gotta take me to the doctor. You got a doctor's appointment. And I knew he had been going to the doctor but I was a kid, you know? And I take him to the doctor. He goes in there, and then, you know, he comes out, and then the doctor calls me in. I'm like, what do you want with me? You know, and he says, your father got about 1.5 years to live.
Is that when he found out?
No, he knew.
He knew.
How long? He knew for like 4 years.
4 years.
4 years
Wow.
he knew. He knew since I was like 16 years old.
Yeah.
When he started letting me branch out and become a man and experience the world on my own, He was getting me mentally ready because he knew he was leaving. Yeah, it was. Yo, bro, let me tell you, it was hard. So the doctor calls me in, and my father is sitting in the waiting room, and the doctor says, your father got 1.5 to 2 years maybe. And I was like, of what? And he says, cancer. I was like, well, what's cancer? Didn't know. And he explained to me, it's a tumor inside. We got to operate. We got to do all this stuff. Now, gone. Everything gone. I didn't want to play football. I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to play sports.
From that moment?
That moment, I did not want to play music.
Really?
I stopped, right? I stopped for 3 years.
Damn.
And he lived for 3 years. He died when I was 21. I found out when I was 18. He knew he was sick since I was 16.
Right? He didn't like try to like, yeah, get back on the music, man. Like all that stuff.
Because he knew after losing my mother at age 7, like when you throw dirt on your mother's grave at age 7, it's pretty much a wrap. But I overcame that because the struggle and the good people around me didn't let me feel it. I didn't feel my mother's pain until my father died. Because that's when you realize you're an orphan. And I had heard that word in books. A lady came into me and said, oh man, you're an orphan now. And I thought about it. I was like, yeah, she's right.
Damn.
Right. It hit me hard. And see, I had an older stepsister from my dad's first marriage, but she was already doing her own thing. So now I'm 18 years old. I quit the band Man Child. I wasn't on the road. I just kind of did what I had to do to graduate high school because my father always wanted me to graduate high school because he did not. And I remember him sitting in the stands. And by this time, he had shriveled all the way up. You know, it was hot. Sitting in the stands, I got my diploma and I looked at him, man. And I was like, this for you. And I went home and, you know, looked at my drum set. I sold it. I had a chrome Gretsch. I sold it to this guy named John Lapel, one of my mentors. Because by that time, I was kicking my mentor's ass. You know what I'm saying? I sold it to him.
But what you were in the bands before you quit, right? So like, what did the bandmates say?
Well, Gary New Year's Bonds was only a summertime thing. But the band Man Child, they had replaced me with somebody else because I had started slacking off and my ego had started taking over, which was no good because I thought I was better than what I was, you know. And when you get to that point, that's when you get your ass kicked, you know, because I went to the city and started seeing Dennis Chambers and Billy, all the people that's really, really, really good. And I said, okay, I still got like 5 more levels to go.
Yeah.
Because you don't really learn your instrument unless you're a prodigy. But when you take in the slow training like I did, you don't really get good till you in your mid-30s. You know what I'm saying? And this is facts. So I'm 18 years old. Now I'm responsible for a house.
Yeah.
Don't know how to pay bills. My dad did all that stuff. You know, he is sick, right? I get married to this lady that I was in love with.
Yeah.
18, get married. You know, she moves in the house. You know, had a son. You know, Zachary. I know you in Georgia, right? And Kayla Maya, I love you too. And
at this point, your dad's still alive because you're 18.
He's still alive. He stayed alive long enough. My son was born at July 31st. My father died September 9th.
My birthday's July 31st.
There you go. So, yeah, all right.
Hey,
all right.
yeah.
There you go. So when all that happened, right, I had to become an adult overnight.
Yeah.
Now I'm used to kiddie shit. You know, just doing all shit that kids do. Partying, drinking, smoking, hanging out, no responsibility, pocket full of money. Now I got to be a husband. I got to be a father. And I got to be a household person taking care of business. Screwed it all up.
Yep.
Horrible husband.
That's a switch right there, man.
Horrible father. And lost the house. My sister didn't speak to me. They thought I was doing drugs and I really wasn't. It was somebody that swindled the house out from under me, you know, and I didn't know what I was doing. So I had to deal with like family shame. I had to deal with no job. I had no other skills. I played music all my life. So what was I going to do?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Didn't really understand why I was the way I was. But then after years of therapy, I realized that the loss of my mother And then seeing my father remarry this woman
Mm-hmm.
when I was 8 years old, and she came in the house and stole everything and left him sick, which I believe causes cancer. She was there for 2.5 years, wreaked havoc, came in, stole everything, ran up bills and everything,
And then
and then
bounced.
left us on Christmas with the tree burning. We came home, everything was gone.
Damn.
Yeah,
She
that's
set
what
it
I
up?
went through. That's what I went through at 9 years old.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, man. So my father somehow pulled himself together, right? And he became this pillar of strength, but his weakness showed for the first time. And when his weakness showed for the first time, that's what broke my heart. 'Cause my father was the strong one, the fish, fixing cars. He used to race cars. Him and my uncle, they did all this stuff. Came from down south, had a good job, was supervising all. Now, I'm like 9 years old, and I didn't mean to jump around, but I can't help it. So now I'm like, okay, music is the only thing I got.
Yeah.
That's why from 9 to like 16, I was
So
balling.
when you said when your dad, when you saw him like not be the strong man anymore, that's when you decided the music is your life.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
when I had to
Yeah.
figure out, okay,
Oh, because you felt like you had to survive on your own.
yeah, exactly. And see, he wasn't there. He worked all the time. And matter of fact, I'm working on a book now called Alcoholics, Bootleggers, Prostitutes, Preachers, and Pimps, because that's what I grew up around. Because my father used to rent rooms in the basement of our house, and that's all that was down there.
Damn.
I called it the den of iniquity. I used to go down there 4 o'clock in the morning, prostitutes, gambling,
Yeah.
people fighting.
Was that how you made his money or something?
No, he would just rent them rooms, but he didn't know what was going on. He kind of knew, but he would take in like people off the street because he felt sorry for him. He was a preacher.
Oh shit.
But see, the one thing back then, kids, we had no say so. You couldn't get away with that now.
Right.
Back then, it was like, hey, you do as I say, not as I do. Keep your mouth shut, keep your eyes closed, whatever you see, right? Because that's how the black community was back then. There was no programs or this or that. You had to take care of people. And he didn't do it on purpose. And some of those people were really good people. They just were like winos. They were like prostitutes. They were like pimps. And they started stealing everything out of the house. Many bikes I had, 10 speeds I had. Some of them was on drugs. And I was telling my father, like, this is just killing me, man. They're doing this stuff. They're doing this stuff. It took them 2 years to realize
He
the
didn't believe
effect
you?
it had on me. It had a big effect on me,
Yeah.
right?
But did he believe you when you were telling him
He
stuff?
believed me, but he was slow to react to it for whatever reason. Whatever the reason was, I still don't know. I've seen things. I've seen people swap wives and everything. You know what I'm saying? Right in front of my very eyes. So I'm a kid growing up with this. So that's why I said, the black community, the church, and all of that. There was a lot of good, but there was a lot of stuff going on behind that curtain that I saw that I shouldn't have seen. And when all this was going on, that's when I was just developing my music. I was like, okay, mom's dead. Dad's going through his struggle. I got to deal with all these people in the middle of the night waking me up, this and that, coming out the door, slamming this, that, fighting, stabbing, shooting. I dealt with all of that, bro. And that's when I started hitting it hard. That's why he always let me do the music. And to this day, I believe all that stress is what causes cancer. So finally, from 9 to 13, when I was 13 years old, he had got rid of everybody out of the house. It was just me and him.
Why?
And I was like, why did he do it?
Yeah.
Because he realized the effect that it was having on his reputation, on the house itself. He knew my mother definitely wouldn't have rolled like that. You know what I'm saying? And it made it I guess, possible for him to take a deep breath. Because he hadn't taken a deep breath since my mother died.
Right.
He was the caregiver. And I used to take care of my mother when I was 5 years old.
Yeah, you had to take care of yourself, man. And like you had to grow up fast.
Real fast.
Seeing all that stuff, right?
I grew up so fast, bro. I miss my childhood. This is why on stage I act like a child now. I miss my childhood.
Yeah.
There was no Christmases for me. There were no birthday cupcakes for me. There was no Easter bunnies for me. There was no Halloween candy for me. I had to do everything on my own. Everything. My father was working, and it was just me by the time I was 13. And the other people that was there in and out couldn't depend on them.
Yeah.
And my sister was doing her own thing. Because at the time, I think she had kind of realized what stuff that was happening in that house, and she didn't want her kids involved because they were a little bit older than me. Periodically, she used to come, and I used to go over there on Sundays and hang out with them and play their 45s and listen to the music. But for the most part, she wasn't in that house.
Yeah. Were you a trouble kid? Because like seeing all that stuff, going through all that stuff, you know, you're either thrive or you let it get to you and you go down in life.
I wouldn't say I was troubled, but I would say I was disturbed. I was disturbed.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, because I used to just want to be by myself. I used to go up on my roof at night and just lay and look back at the stars and the UFOs and shit going by. I got to the point where I was better off being alone. I played with my friends. I was sociable, but they would all go home to families. I would just go home to the empty house because my father worked 2 jobs. He worked from like 7 in the morning to 3. He would come home and take a nap to 7 and then go from 7 to 12 to his other job. I was a latchkey kid.
Yeah.
So when the house finally got empty and it was just me, it was crazy hard. I was scared a lot.
Damn, I bet.
I had to cook for myself a lot. And he taught me, my mother taught me, so I was good. But I ended up liking to be alone. Because at that time, I'm 13, I'm processing this music thing. What happened the past 10 years, reflashing over and over my mother's funeral, watching my dad go through stuff, thinking about the people that I saw fornicating in the basement, shooting dice and stuff, smoking weed and stuff, going to school when, I was soaked in piss because I had peed the bed. There was nobody to clean me up, nobody to wash my clothes or nothing.
Yeah.
Right? People used to make fun of me, not the best groomed, but mostly groomed. I took care of myself as best I could. But it was things that my teachers realized. And then they kind of was trying to look out for me. But at that time, again, it was whatever happened in the house stayed in the house. Wasn't like it is now. There were no programs for shit.
Yeah.
You just existed
Deal with
as a kid. Yeah. So once I understood my journey and I started to understand where I needed to go and get on my feet, and I was playing football and pretty decent athlete, whatever, and then the music thing was kicking off, right? I was good because, I was playing. My father was, I thought was healthy. I was touring with Gary Neal's Bonds straight out of high school, had a pocket full of money. Then he got sick. Then I got married, kids, and then I stopped for 3 years, right? That's when you say that slide, I hadn't hit rock bottom yet. I hit rock bottom when I slid down and started self-medicating.
In the 3 years? Those 3 years right there?
More than 3.
Yeah.
Like 13.
13, yeah.
From the time I was 21 to the time I was like 35. Self-medicating.
Was that like...
Like, in other words, I never shot heroin.
Because like you were doing drugs beforehand, right?
Yeah, but it was like sociable.
Right.
Now I was doing it to kill the pain. And that's when therapy and psychiatry and psychology in the early 80s had kicked in. Because remember now, my father died in 1979. So coming into the 80s, people started understanding, wow, PTSD and this and that and, what people are going through, traumatic stuff. So I started self-medicating only because I was hanging out with people that was doing it.
So like the first time you were self-medicating, was that like you were so depressed at that time that you just went with it and then it just became a regular thing?
I was so depressed. It was New Year's Eve. I was driving on the Belt Parkway in New York. I had like a fifth of scotch, right? And I had done a lot of cocaine and I was smoking weed and I let go of the steering wheel.
On purpose?
On purpose. And tried to go as fast as I could in the snow on ice.
So you were trying to commit suicide?
Tried, bro. And because New York, the grooves in the road, the car wouldn't crash. I was like, all I did was slide around and bang. I hit a snowbank. I tried so hard to get out of here. Because at that point, I was done.
What was running through your mind after you hit that bank?
I was spared, and I got to continue, unfortunately. Because I was so depressed. I lost my mom, lost my dad. My sister didn't really care. People didn't really care about me. All they wanted was what I was doing musically. I thought, I felt like I was being exploited, playing in all these bands, this and that. But at the end of the day, you walk off the stage, nobody really gives a shit. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I was like fed up. I was like, okay, I done lived a fast life. Boom, I'm out. But it didn't happen that way. And when I smashed into the bank or whatever, right? And I was like, all right. So I go back to an empty apartment. Nothing was in it. Just me. I had gotten divorced at that time, from my first marriage, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. They had went their separate way. I was really depressed because I wasn't seeing my son. I felt like I had been a lousy father and a lousy husband and all of that stuff because I was always enraged and I was always, always angry. And at the time, I didn't realize I had high blood pressure too, which makes you that way.
Oh, I didn't know.
High blood pressure makes you very tense and angry. Because I wasn't taking care of myself. I was young. I was like young, dumb, and full of what.
Yeah.
So when I pulled myself together and I was sitting in that empty apartment talking to myself, and I was like, okay, I need some stability, right? So I got into healthcare.
Interesting. So there's a switch that happened right there.
Right, because I wasn't playing music and never wanted to play again.
Yeah.
I had no desire to play in any band, sing, nothing like that. Got into healthcare, started working at Pilgrim Psych Center. I don't know if that's good or bad.
What made you go there first?
Because they was hiring.
Okay, gotcha.
They was hiring. I needed a job.
All right.
I remember I'm coming out of music. I had no skills.
Yeah.
So at that point, you could just be an orderly. So I got the job there, and I saw things that I was like, holy moly. I thought I was fucking crazy. These people, they locked up for a reason.
Yeah.
And they was like, oh, they took my craziness to a whole nother level. I was like, no wonder y'all are locked up. In my mind, I'm thinking this now because I'm like, that could be me. Mm-hmm. I did some of those same things. So the way the universe flipped it on me, it was like, I'm going to show you, like the ghost of the past, ghost of the future thing. Yeah. I'm going to show you and put you in an environment where you could be here if you don't straighten out. Boom, it flipped.
Mm.
So I started thinking.
That takes some stress off your shoulders?
No.
All
it did was introduce me to more drugs.
Really?
Believe me. Psych Center in the 80s, you get anything you want. Mm. You had access to the nurse's station. You could get Vicodin, you get pills, you get whatever you want.
Oh, damn.
You were orderly. You worked in the psych center.
And you were like looking at those people like, I'm never going to be that bad.
Yeah.
Still doing the drugs.
Still doing the drugs. Because once you get in that environment, not everybody was getting high, but a lot of people was, because you're dealing with people that have done some really horrific things and you got to deal with them physically. Mm. So you got to be ready at any time. Straight jacketing people, bed jacketing people, dealing with people that's 6'5", 250, that's built. Weightlifters and garbage men and people that will rip your head off.
Yeah.
There was this one gentleman, he did something so heinous, we ended up taking him to where David Berkowitz was. You know what I'm saying? In Bellevue. We was on Pilgrim. David Berkowitz, Son of Sam's, thing like that. I worked Psych Secure. So Psych Secure, the only difference between us and the CO Psych Secure is we didn't carry guns. Mm. But I was vetted to carry
So like a security?
Nah, they call it Psych Secure. I was an orderly. So that means like if you was a patient, I had to take care of you.
Okay.
And I've seen some horrific things.
Yeah, it seems.
As a kid, again, I'm like asking the universe, I don't want to go down to the railroad tracks and spray this guy's brains where he done committed suicide. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing all this stuff, man. So it turned me on to the ugly side of life. Ugly, ugly side of life. Then one day, out of nowhere, this was in the mid-'80s, it flipped on me. I was like, okay, I got to start doing music again. Mm-hmm. I have to do music again.
What was the flip?
The flip was there was this thing called Amityville Day. Uh-huh. And all the local bands was over there. And a friend of mine, Fred Wallington, who I had played in the disco band earlier with, right? He was always trying to get me to play drums. Like, nah, I ain't even interested. I'll just come to Amityville Day and watch. Mm. And when I went and watched, I was like, okay. I was like, I'm better than this guy. I'm better than this guy. I'm better than this guy. Uh-huh. So I found a piece of crap drum set, put it back together, and I started auditioning. And that's when I started understanding that that's my path.
Mm.
And from that, I got a better job. I started working for the Carmelite nuns in Staten Island.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a black guy, punked out, working for the Carmelite nuns as an activities professional that I had never done before. Oh, we got some angels in here. I see that. That's a ladybug.
That's a ladybug.
Yeah, that's my mother. No, for real. She always comes in the form of a ladybug.
Oh, yeah?
I kid you not.
Dude, that's weird because there was like 5-6 ladybugs in this office today. And before today, I have not seen them for a year.
That's my angels. So anyway, right? And they want me to tell my story. So anyway, this is mid-'80s, and I'm leaving Psych Secure, and I'm starting to work for this place called Carmelite Nuns and Clove Lakes Nursing and Rehab, where my mind was older. I was much more mature, right? I had kicked off the drugs, right? And I was completely clean for like 4, 5, 6 years. Didn't even smoke weed or nothing, right? Because I wanted to focus on the task. Because now
Was that cold?
Cold turkey?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I didn't need no place to go, this and that. If you want to stop something, you can stop.
True.
I stopped, right? And the Creator had put me with those Carmelite nuns for a reason. And then Clove Lakes Nursing and Rehab for a reason. I understood my purpose then. They said, listen, you're going to be a music therapist. I was like, I don't even know what that is. They said, all you got to do is go around and sing to people. I was like, bet. Huh. And I learned all the songs, Shine on Harvest Moon, Swanee River, and all this other stuff, right? Let Me Call You Sweetheart. And I used to sing to these old people, man.
Damn.
And that was my job.
Huh.
And it was a great job. I had benefits. I was getting paid $65K just to walk around and sing all day.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, right. So that's when I met my now ex, Jennifer. Got married, had kids, the whole nine. So the way it worked out, the ups and downs I had in my life all prepared me for that moment.
Yeah.
And they still talk about things that I've done. I got letters. I was like in the activities professional book in New York, 2006, Who's Who, and that's a hard book to get in. I got a stack of letters, awards, this and that, just for being who I was. Because I didn't know who I was until I found myself again. Mm-hmm. Early on, I knew. Then when I went through that turmoil, it was gone. And then when it came back in the form of, you're going to work in a nursing home for 22 years. That's what you're going to do.
That seems like a really good transition back into music.
It was because from that, I met this guy, Jerry Jamont, played with Aretha Franklin.
Oh, shit.
He got me into Buddhism, you know, and I started understanding, wow, life is the journey. I never understood the journey.
Yeah.
I always thought it was personally happening to me. I took everything personal. Very defensive. Very, very, yes, right, Mom? Very defensive. And she's like, yeah, he right. But I realized the world wasn't revolving around me.
Mm.
I revolved in the world. And then I worked with Zack Roberson, gospel artist, New Life. Mm-hmm. Started doing gospel music. I ended up putting out a spiritual funk CD to dedicate it to my mother and sister, because by then my sister had passed away of cancer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I lost my father, my mother, and my sister.
But you weren't really talking to your sister at that point, right?
I had made up with her.
Oh.
Because this is how the spirit works.
Uh-huh.
When I was working Psych Secure, guess where I got assigned to?
Her department.
Her unit.
Her unit.
She worked nights. I came in the day. We passed. And I was like, okay, we got to put this to bed. And we put it to bed.
Really?
Yes, we did.
It's nice,
put it to bed. It was nice. And before she died, we was like hanged out. We was safe.
That's great.
You know? And see, the journey and part of this Inspired Voices leads me to tell people, continue the journey, because you never know. Then I end up, hanging out with the P-Funk, understanding that, put my own band together, Nappy Head Funk Army, talking to Bernie Worrell, talking to Mike Hampton. They all became my friends. The people that I had on my wall that I idolized for years when I was a kid became my friends. I got their numbers in my phone. Now I could call them,
And that was just all word of mouth kind of thing? Is that how you became friends with them?
It was the city, because in New York City in the 80s and 90s, CBGB's, Wetlands, the Lions Den, Red Lion. These were the places where these groups would come and cultivate this stuff before they took it to the road, the big acts. So I was right there behind stage. I was a roadie sometime. I ran wires sometimes. I just got a chance to hang out. It was the best rebooting of my career.
Did you ever think about working at those places?
I did sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, I did sometimes. Then I met Dennis Chambers, one of the greatest drummers in the world. Changed my life.
Okay.
Because I had gotten back into drums and entered a drum contest. Long Island Drum Center used to have these drum contests, right? Now I'm talking 1990, 1980, 89, 90, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still working for the Carmelite Nuns and transitioning. And now I'm in my 30s, so I got to start being more mature. I said, let me enter the drum contest. And I didn't win. I came in third. But Dennis Chambers came up to me and said, yo, bro, he said, you funking it up there, right? He gave me a Zildjian T-shirt, the symbols, right? And I said, yo, man, I said, you're my favorite drummer on the planet. I said, to me, you're even better than Billy Cobham. And Billy Cobham was the guy.
Right.
You know, Buddy Rich, Billy Cobham, Dennis Chambers. And he said, thank you, man. And I said, man, how did you do this and that? And he started talking to me, right? And he said, yo, man, take my number. He gave me his number. Now, I got my drum idol's number in my phone. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Beeper, right? And because back then we all carried books. There were no cell phones back then. We all had black books, right? But I had a beeper. I could beep them. And he said, yo, just keep doing what you're doing and work on your left hand.
Ooh.
That's what he told me. And by then, I was like, I didn't take it as criticism. I took it as constructive criticism.
That's good.
Because I had learned the difference. If I would have been younger, I would have been like, man, what the fuck you talk about, man? I'm nice.
Yeah.
But I couldn't say that shit to him because this man the baddest on the planet.
Right.
See? So I had the respect factor. That's what, that between your 20s and your 30s, if you're a smart musician, that's where you learn respect for the craft, you learn respect for the artist, and you learn respect for the cat that has longevity. Because somebody once told me, I was all sad sitting like this, and he said, son, what you sad for? He said, you sitting on your gold mine. I was sitting on my snare drum. He said, you sitting on your gold mine right there. He said, how many people could do that? He said, look around in this club. He said, there must be like 60, 70 people in this club. There's only 5 of y'all on stage. He said, look at it from that point. Because I was all sad like I'm playing in some low-down club and I ain't in Madison Square Garden. He said, nah. He said, you sitting on your gold mine. Yeah. Right? So little things like that come back to me now. And Dennis inspired me. So I didn't win the drum contest, but I was like, I didn't care. I got a chance to talk to Dennis Chambers, you know? He did that on purpose. He inspired me. Then I started dating one of the off group, the Brides of Funkenstein, Sheila. Her name is Amuka Kelly now. She was one of the singers for George Clinton. I started dating her.
Okay.
And yeah, now I'm getting to the good stuff, bro. Yo, you get ready to get it down. Yeah. Dating her, and she was hotsy-totsy, and I'm walking around New York City. I got the bride on my arms.
All right.
Now I'm completely backstage.
Yeah.
Now I am completely upstate where I can't reveal the place, but where the mothership was. Right. The real mothership. Yeah. The ship that landed in Madison Square Garden. I'm up there now. And I walk in there, and I was like, I never forget it, because the night before I went to a Wu-Tang concert, right? So I swear to God, it was the weirdest thing. So she's like, yeah, I need a ride upstate. I was like, upstate? And I knew us. She said, yeah, I need a ride. We're rehearsing up there. I was like, let's go, right? Boom. We go up. Gary Scheider, Clip Payne, Skeet Curtis, Gabe Gonzalez, Sheila was there, Bernie Worrell, George Clinton. They all just walking around. And so if somebody brings somebody in, they automatically assume they're cool. Yeah. I was cool as a fan. I was like, fly on the wall. I even wrote a song called Fly on the Wall in the Hall of Funk that I still play today. For that's why I wrote that song. For y'all out there that listen to Nappy Head Funk Army music, Fly on the Wall in the Hall of Funk was written because I was up there. Then I understood what it was all about. That's why you notice this song I wrote, United We Stand, was say, you ain't got to be the best, just got to outlast the rest. Yeah. I realized it wasn't about how good I was. It was about who you know.
Yep.
It hit me.
Yep.
And they said, yeah, you good enough to play. But George came up to me and said, nah, man. He said, you can hang out with us. He said, but I'm already carrying 3 drummers. I don't need another drummer. So I was like, man. But
that would have been the ultimate, right?
But the best thing him and Bootsy Collins told me to do, he said, and Bernie Worrell too, start your own band. And that's how Nappy Head Funk Army was born. Then he said, I want y'all to play at my birthday party.
Oh.
So we played a George Clinton birthday party, and the rest is history.
Damn, dude.
The rest is history. That was 1998.
Yes, it's who you know, but you also have to learn how to communicate and be social with those type of people and stuff like that, right?
Right, exactly. See, and I hadn't had that. Sheila taught me that. That's why I love it to this day. She said, listen, just be cool. You ain't got to come in like all hyped up, like you chest poked out. No, just come in. And Sheila told me, wherever you go, act like you've been there before. And that was one of the most important things she ever told me. She's up in Detroit now. I love you to death, Amuka. She said, act like you've been there before. I was like, bet. So, at that time, I was in my late 30s. I was starting to understand the game, And I said, all right, I put together a band. We played George Clinton's birthday party. I understood the game then because once you understand the rules of the game, you could play it better.
Yeah.
It's like the Golden State Warriors. They became this dynasty, but they started out losing first. You got to lose first before you can win.
Right.
You got to not necessarily bottom out like I did, but you got to be able to humble yourself. See, and I was always a humble kid, but then there was a part of me that had that arrogance because I did go out so early. I was playing in front of the Tramp so early. I did tour with Gary and the U.S. Bonds so early. I had a residency at the Twin Towers, the Waldorf Astoria, the Manhattan Center. We played in front of George Thurgood. I was playing in cover bands, one of the best in New York City, which is still around today, Creations Music. It was a wedding company. We played for everybody. Whoopi Goldberg, John Leguizamo. We played high-end stuff. We traveled to Mexico, traveled to Hawaii. I did all of that. So my ego was there, but playing pop music. But I always wanted to be here with the funk. So then once I realized how to fuse the two and get my mind right, because my mind wasn't right. I had been through so much as a child.
Yeah.
I had been through all this traumatic stuff. I'm working for the Carmelite nuns, and I'm trying to put together a funk band and still record my own ideas. I still hadn't, now remember, I hadn't recorded anything yet. I played on 2 gospel records, but I hadn't personally recorded anything. Nappy Head didn't even have a record out when we started playing.
Yeah.
And I had to redo the group. You know how it is. You put people here, you put people there.
Yeah.
So once I did that, right, and I realized my purpose, Jerry Jamont got me into the Buddhism, and Jerry Jamont took me to this place called Stream Ring, and you'll hear that on my record. And guess who was there? Madonna's guitar player.
Oh, shit.
Paul Pesco. He had a studio in there. And Madonna used to give him all the equipment after every tour. All the stuff on the top of the shows was Madonna. I was like, who? So Jerry says, listen, Paul, this guy Zach, whatever, he wants to, do some work and hang out, whatever, right? I got a job doing voiceovers.
Really?
All the Angels, Edward Hawkins, California, come see his mass choir. I was doing voiceovers, bro.
There you go.
Yeah, so.
Look at that voice.
Yeah, right. I need voiceover work. Hey, hire me. I can do it. I can sound white.
Got that white voice in him.
Hey, I can do that, So I'm hanging out with Paul Pesco, and, we trading ideas. I'm learning MIDI and production from him. That's why I worked so well with Mo. I learned it way back then.
Okay.
And we were the first, and I'm proud of this, the Nappy Head Funk Army was the first black rock funk band on Long Island to stream live with this company called Stream Ring. We were the very first ones, and Long Island will not recognize us for that, nor are we in the Long Island Music Hall of Fame, which is a travesty, but that's okay, because guess what? I'm going into the Dayton Funk Hall of Fame in 2024.
There you go.
Up in Ohio. But that's a side note. But so once I was around these people, I got Jerry Jamont, played on everything Aretha Franklin did. Paul Pesco, Madonna's music director. I was like, okay, I must arrive. I'm hanging out with P-Funk. I'm dating Sheila. You know what I'm saying? And by that time, Sheila and I had broke up, but we still stayed friends. I still had the connections, right? I'm picking up George Clinton from the airport, picking him up from, when he came through, Gary Scheider in Maryland, taking trips, this and that, behind stage. And I'm seeing my friends in the audience. They like, damn, how you get backstage? I was like, yo, I got like, what? Oh, yeah, I'm up here.
Wait, hold on. So, like, with all of this going on right now, were you consciously aware of everything that's really happening? And were you careful about not to fuck anything up?
Good question. I was consciously aware because I had worked with people that couldn't even help themselves in a nursing home. So it gave me, the creator made me go back and relearn humility. And once I relearned humility, that's why all these guys to this day are my friends and I could be around them. That's why I'm in the funk now. Bootsy made me this and that and the third. Because I came in, when I came back, I was ready physically and mentally. So to answer your question, I was consciously ready. I was still excited and happy, but I didn't need to play drums for George Clinton then. All I needed was his validation to start my own stuff because he knew I knew all of his stuff.
Yeah.
And then some of his cats was like, yo, you pretty nice. You should do your own thing. And then little by little, right, I realized it's that consciousness that you said, my spirit in this earth suit wasn't ready before. That's why I couldn't get it.
Yeah, it was split up.
Right. Once I came together on both sides, then I knew I wasn't going to fuck it up because there was nothing else for me to do but that.
Yeah.
And they validated me. They said, listen, you one of us. You do you. You go out, start your band, do warm-ups. We opened up for Living Color a lot. Corey and them became friends of mine, and Vernon Reed, good friends of mine. My guitar player that plays with me, Andy, plays with them. So it was like, oh, you guys are ready to do this stuff, you know? And when all of that happened, that's when I was getting better band members. Kevin Harrington came in on drums. William Press Bush came in on keyboards. Tanya Tillett and Pat Dioria came in on vocals. The band got better. Carlton Collier, rest in peace. I just buried one of my bass players this past summer. He came in. I started working with 2 bass players, which nobody was doing back then. Dumpster Funk does it now, but I was doing it back then. And all of this stuff was popping. New York City was growing. Everything was perfect. Everything was in perfect alignment, bro. Everything was in so much perfect alignment. We were playing NYU. We were playing big festivals. We was doing this. We played the Amsterdam Avenue Street Festival, 50,000 people, and we were headlining. We played the Harry Chapin Theater, 20,000 people, and we were headlining. We were right there. And then guess what?
What?
Damn.
Damn.
9/11.
Fuck.
We were right there. And then the world changed. No longer do people give a shit about music. Music, if you think about it, between 2001 and 2005, the arts were dead.
Really? I mean, it seems hard to believe. I mean, I understand why, but it seems hard to believe because music is music. It's
people
resonance.
played it, but the first year and a half, 2 years, you got to remember, New York was burying thousands and thousands of people every day.
Yeah.
So a lot of the places in the village were right around the Twin Towers. I worked in the Twin Towers. I had a residency there with Creations Music for like 5 years. Every Tuesday night, we would be there jamming up top. All of that was gone, you know? And a lot of the clubs started weaning out. CBGB's eventually closed. Wetlands eventually closed. The Red Lion eventually closed. Club Life, where we play with Taylor Dane, eventually closed.
What was going through your mind, man? When all that stuff was
depression.
It's settling back in.
Depression.
The what you went through before started coming back.
Depression. For me, and I was part of the Black Rock Coalition, BRC. Every famous black rock musician was in it. Fishbone was in it. Living Color was in it. We used to plan gigs. We used to play with these people. The late, great Ronnie Jordan. All of these people, right? We was in that thing, right? And once the city of New York, the pulse, the heartbeat changed, a lot of people gravitated towards D.C. because D.C. always had their go-go thing. That's the heart of Chocolate City. That's the heart of funk. It wasn't New York. It was D.C., Chocolate City. That's the heart of funk. Plainfield, New Jersey is where a lot of them came from, besides Bootsy and them, Ohio. But Ohio and D.C., Zapp came from Ohio, Isley Brothers, Bootsy Collins, Lakeside, all from Ohio, you know, Slave. Then Prince came out and doing his Minneapolis thing. So there were different parts of the country now that was just as good, if not better, than New York when it came to opportunities. A lot of people left. They went here, they went there.
Yeah.
The music, Broadway, and all of that stuff took a hit too because they had to kind of shift. No longer could you go out and be funny and be fun. Even comedians changed their stuff because New York was on the serious rebuild tip.
Yeah.
You got this big mass pile of metal the size of 5 football fields sitting downtown, smoldering still. We did a benefit shortly after. It was like 27 days later. We actually had a gig booked before that happened at NYU. And we went and turned that gig into a benefit. You know, things like that were happening.
Right.
So it became more serious.
Yeah.
I became more serious. I got married. So, let me get married. Got married, right? And had kids, you know, moved to Virginia, you know, to get away from all of that, you know. And
so all that was happening and you decided to bounce and just.
Yeah, it was best for us.
Really?
It was, because
you had all those connections.
Yeah, they were there and it was cool. But again, all of those artists that I'm talking about all went overseas and I couldn't go. You know, a lot of people left New York, you know.
Gotcha.
They did other things and MTV was popular. Videos came out. No longer was the live thing at the top, the cherry. The live thing had dropped down to say where the chocolate is. There was still whipped cream and then the cherry. The live thing had dropped down because people were like, funk is cool. You're jumping around, you're dancing, but I lost my cousin in 9/11. I ain't interested in this shit.
And we got music videos now. And all that.
The digital age came in.
Yeah.
So we used to sell CDs out of the trunk of our car. Now I got this thing called MySpace that I got to deal with. And then now this thing called Facebook comes out. I got to deal with that. You know, so, you know, what was that thing? The Monster, the Monkey, whatever, you could bootleg songs off of. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, like LimeWire and stuff like that?
Yeah, but there's another one that was a famous one that had an animal name.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, right. Monkey or Monster, whatever that
Yeah.
was. That came out, and people are bootlegging music.
Yep.
So there was a lot that changed. And again, we had recorded our first CD, Funky for Life, and put that out. We was selling out of the trunk of our car and selling it on CD Baby, right? And, you know, it was getting some sales, getting some airplay, but it wasn't the same because we couldn't really perform like we wanted to because there were no places to perform.
So obviously that means that you had to like switch it up.
Mind if I take a sip on
All right, go for it. Yeah, you had to, at that point, you can't be doing the same thing. You have to switch things up, right?
Switch it up, right?
Is that what you kind of planned at?
I didn't plan it that way, but nature, again, takes its course because the universe always had a plan for me to be sitting here with you right now. We get married, moved to Virginia, lived there for 8 years. Marriage is cool. My kids are great, but it ain't working. We moved to North Carolina. Now I'm out of touch with my band. I go back and do one benefit for my friend who had died, Nathan King, and we did it for Long Island Coalition for the Homeless. We go back, I put the band back together, we do the benefit, right? They all were gracious enough to do it. I went back down south, and there was no music in Virginia. It was Virginia Beach, but I wasn't playing, right? I auditioned for some pop bands and played a few times in Virginia Beach, but it sucked. I didn't like it. So we moved here. Now, I don't know nobody here.
Why?
Because my ex wanted to be here because her family moved here.
Okay.
So we moved to North Carolina in 2013.
Okay.
Got divorced in 2014. Now I'm without my kids, without my family, second family, right? Second time I'm divorced. North Carolina. Don't know anybody. And I didn't know anybody. And I'm on my own. Again.
Going back to that childhood, huh?
Boom. Right? I'm living out in the Southern Pines. Right? Depressed. I had ruined my life, jacked up my marriage, right? I'm really depressed. I'm like, all right, this time is really time for me to go. Right? I had bought a shotgun. I'm laying on the bed, my kid's picture here. Now I got long arms, right? Kid's picture here. My ex-wife's picture's here. I'm laying on the bed, boom, shotgun in my mouth. And I can reach the trigger. So I'm right there. And I'm like, well, this is going to be it. I ain't even sure if I'm going to die. I never pulled a trigger in a shotgun in my life. What I know is it was loaded. And I was ready. And I was really, really ready. And then I looked at my kid's picture, and I was like, you know what? I can't do that to them. So I put the shotgun down, and I called my best friend, besides Kevin, Jeff Roberson. I said, Jeff, I'm right here at the edge. And Jeff had been through his trials and tribs. I said, I'm right here at the edge, bro. I said, I'm here. I'm ready to go. And he said, fine. Look for that one tiny spark. I said, Jeff, there ain't no tiny spark. He said, brother, he said, don't do this. He said, I know you're hurting. I feel your pain. I know you're by yourself. You're alone. He said, look for the one little spark, like that one little star that you can barely see. That one little spark, right? And I thought about it. I laid there. I had called out of work for like a week because I was working in healthcare down here. And I was like, what spark? Spark? I said, look at my life. I'm screwed. I ain't playing. And at the time, I was watching all the funk bands get off. Because now by then, Detroit had got hot. Philly had got hot. DC had got hot. Atlanta had got hot. All the funk bands that I liked and all the people that I knew was all playing except for me. And I was like, God, it was like that movie, General Patton, when he said, the whole world's at war and I'm not part of it. What a great movie.
Yeah.
Great line. He said, I cannot allow this to happen, right? So I'm in bed, shotgun, and I was like, okay, spark. What's the spark? What's the spark? What's the spark, right? And I thought about the CD that Kevin and I had did years before that called Revolution, and it had my father's scriptures in there. And if you guys want to hear a really good CD, look up Zachariah Cloud9 Revolution, because it tells my story. There was a song on there that I did called Run to Him. And it was my confession about my trials and struggles, right? Which is the reason why I love Inspired Voices, because that song is like, he's all I'll ever need. I'll run to him. I'll run to him. And I started thinking, if I wrote it and inspired other people, why can't I flip it and inspire myself? Because I had always thought that I'm just giving. I didn't realize I wrote that song for myself.
Ooh.
So I got up, put that CD on, and I'm still manic and depressed, right?
But you made it a point to
try
and switch that.
Yes, and I listened to that song over and over and over and over and over and over. And I was like, okay, here I am, Lord. You've hollowed me out. You've taken away all the music, and I was blaming other people. It was just me. It wasn't God. I got nothing to do with it, right? But he kept me alive for a reason.
Yeah.
And once I listened to that song, I started like, let me go to some of these open mics. Start meeting musicians down in North Carolina since I'm stuck here. Right? Hated this place, man. No bacon, egg, and cheese, no pizza. You know what I'm saying? Everything closes early. You know what I'm saying? I don't know nobody. You got to like go a million miles away to get something.
Yeah.
Right? And I started meeting these musicians.
You were, yeah.
Yeah, right. Because I was in Southern Pines, remember them?
Yeah.
So then I moved back to Durham, right? And I met this guy, Jake Winslow. Love you, Jake. And I recorded the song Beast Mode, True Funk Soldier, right? Beast Mode, I'm coming back. But the song really didn't hit. It was done well, but it wasn't quite there yet. I hadn't met Mo yet. But I sent the song overseas to Germany. And this guy named Steady Groove, shout out, was playing it. And I was like, wow, that's me. And he was shouting me out, yo, Nappy Head Funk Army from America. Here we go, boom, boom, boom.
There you go.
Germany. And I was like, all right. Then Tanny Soul Sister picked up Revolution CD and started playing my other song, Revolution, off the Spiritual CD on Sundays. And I was like, well, fuck, I got music around the world. Why am I going to take my life? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Then, as fate would have it, we're doing our thing, and I'm still recording and playing with Mangus DC, who plays guitar for me, and his pop band. Because I went and watched his band one day, and then when he came on stage, I was like, I'm better than your drummer. Just like that, right? Because that's how we do in New York.
Right.
We bum rush shit. So he's like, yeah, I'm thinking about getting rid of him anyway. I was like, listen, I'm your man. I go to his audition, crash it, smash it, singing and playing, and kind of became like, not the director, but gave them direction in a sense of, hey, this is how we really need to do this. Played with him for 3 years, right? And then played with this guy, the late, great Russ Corvey, jazz guy. I was playing percussion for him, right? So then I was downtown Raleigh. And somehow I started meeting cats that I thought could funk. Like I met Ralph DeJour, he could funk, right? And I met...
Were they playing in funk bands?
No,
or they just
Ralph
had
was
a
playing in
vibe?
his reggae band, but he subbed in Mangus's band as the bass player. And I always told him, listen, when I put my funk thing together, I want to use you on bass. And he's like, yeah, bet, right? So little by little, I started meeting these musicians. I saw Penda singing, you know what I'm saying? Little by little, I started meeting all these musicians. And, you know, Jake played keyboards. So I was, in my mind, now I'm thinking, okay, I'm playing in this pop band, but I'm getting ready to have a shoulder surgery. So I've had 4 torn rotator cuffs and 3 replacements. So I was getting ready to get out of drums anyway.
Yeah.
So I told Mangus, I played with him for 3 years. I was like, yo, bro, I'm getting ready to get out and start my own thing. But I said, when I get ready, I'll call you. And then I waited a year and a half, 2 years go by. And then one day, you know, I met this guy, Michael McCorvey from Atlanta. Global Management Investments. He comes here to vet me, flies in from Atlanta.
You specifically?
Me specifically, because he heard what I was doing and he knew my funk background with George and all them and Boosie and all them, right? He knew that I was into that stuff.
Yeah.
And he was looking for that. But he was a guy that took other people's money and invested in bands, right? He comes in that September, bang, we meet at the hotel. He vets me and says, listen, I'm going to get you a $25,000 grant. All you got to do is just hang out for a minute, right? I hang out, sign an unconditional waiver, and he says, okay, you got to go to New York and get it in March. I was like, bet. So now I'm excited. So now I start calling my band. Yo, I got it. I call my cats in New York. Yo, I got something. I got something popping. I'm going to have the money, right? And then sure enough, March 14th, never forget the date, I'm driving to New York to meet with those people to talk about this grant. I hear on the radio, America is shut down due to COVID. Second time, bro. The Twin Towers got me, and then COVID got me. That day, I was driving up there.
Damn.
Twice. So I'm like, I looked up to the sky. I'm like,
What do you want from me? What do you?
dude! I was like, killing me, man. You're killing me,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The second time, bro. Turn around. Go home before you get locked out in North Carolina. I was like, you mean to tell me I'm going to get locked out of my state? They're like, yeah, they doing that.
Damn.
Here I am, again, depressed.
So you had to turn around that same
That
drive.
day, right there on I-95, I was in Spotsylvania on I-95. The sign says Spotsylvania. I turn around, quarterback, yo, they pulling the plug. Everybody, you can feel the energy of the country. I personally think it's my fault that COVID happened. I swear to God, because, bro, every time I want to do something, something happens.
Something big, yeah.
But it was good because what that did, it slowed everything down so people could see everything then.
What do you mean?
Bootsy and Patty found me and asked me. Patty calls me up one day. I see the phone. It says Patty Collins. I was like, wow. She's calling me. What you want? You know, it's COVID. I'm locked. I'm sitting on my porch all set, just playing the bass. She said, yo, I want you to be.
You sat on the porch. Just
Yeah, I sat and playing bass.
blues.
That's it. That's all I could do.
Uh-uh.
She says, I want you to be a Club Funkity ambassador. Now, Patty Collins asks you something. You don't even say what. You just say, I bet.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, bet. She made me an ambassador, right? And this was during COVID because she said, we've been watching you.
Really?
Watching me? Watching me do what? She said, you taking something, nothing, and making something out of it. That's what Bootsy always says. He said, we've been watching you because I started my podcast during COVID in my car, which is why I call it Funk from the Front Seat.
Ah.
And they said, yeah, you did something during COVID. We've been watching you. And I was like, really? She said, yeah. So I was like, bet. So I was like, well, wow, I do have a purpose, you know? So.
Just validated that.
Right. Then I meet Diego.
Yeah.
And I meet Diego because Tammy at the time that he was with at the time is doing a podcast with Mark Lee. And Mark Lee's my producer.
I know Mark Lee.
Yeah. So he's doing a podcast and Tammy's there. And in the podcast, Tammy says, hey, you know, Zach, you want to meet my boyfriend Diego? He's into music. I was like, yeah, bet. I'll come over sometime. Diego pops on being Diego.
Diego, for those of you who know, was on last week's episode.
Yes.
So
He's my guy. So we hook up and vibe. And he Oak City Music Collective, that's why I'm loyal to them and will always be, because I told him my vision.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the first one down here that saw my vision.
Mm.
Fully, not fragmented. He saw the whole picture. From pillar to post. I said, Diego, this is what I want to do. I said, I need your expertise and your youthfulness. And I said, I'm going to mix that with my old school funk gatekeeper stuff. I said, I'm going to put all that together and make a huge pancake. And I said, it's going to work out great.
Let's observe on that.
Yo, dude, let me tell you something, right? And he turns me on to Adam, which I record at Promo Sound. And I said, Adam, this is what I did before. I said, but this is what I want to sound like. Kevin Harrington had done my original CD, Revolution, which was the first song on P-Funk Radio. And that song we had done like in the early 90s when I went to the Funketeers Ball once and Keith Jackson played it. And he was like, yo, I dig this, man. Revolution, spiritual funk, this and that. Sounds like P-Funk, Bootsy and Prince. So he dug it. And I said, don't worry, I'm going to be making more music as soon as I can, right? So fast forward, I meet Adam, and I said, Revolution, this is what I want to sound like, this is what I'm doing. And because Adam, I call him Motor Genius, because he is, like you, in the arts. You're a genius.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, because if you remember, right around that time, we still didn't have a song, and we had Beast Mode out, but I didn't count that. We didn't have a song. You were shooting us when I was recording United We Stand.
Yeah.
You were shooting me. Right. So I met you. So Diego's like, no, I got a guy that can do this. And to this day, bro, that video that we took at Eno that I lost, 1 year before I lost it, because I didn't pay attention to it. But it worked out for the better. Because we wasn't ready yet. That wasn't ready. You know.
Damn.
That wasn't
it's like all these things that we really want and don't come to fruition, but then realize that, oh, it wasn't meant to be because of this. It's all these things, man.
It's about the journey, man. And Inspired Voices is about this journey, y'all. I'm telling you from pillar to post. So I meet you, I meet Diego, and I can start to see, even though I'm pushy and I'm like, okay, North Carolina, am I really going to do this funk thing here? And it's like, this is where I got to start and grow. I told Diego, I'm going to help Oak City music become what it wants to become. I'm going to be your number one funk act on there. I said, I'm going to tell you right now, if you put us on the show, we're going to rip anybody's ass that we with.
Yeah.
You know, I told him that, and I was serious about that. I said, even y'all, y'all get in our way, we're going to stomp you.
No, dude, I believe it, man. I seen you on stage, man, and you are fucking on it.
I'm coming. I'm telling you right now, because this is funk psychology 101. Because funk bands, remember, didn't get WABC airplay. They didn't get that. It was underground.
Yeah.
Until it became above ground. But it was underground for so long. So you had to be good.
It's underrated.
Underrated. And yeah, you had to be, because if you were not, you would get shooed off. And then the next, because underground, that's the real. It's like that movie that Eminem did, you know.
Hey, man,
yeah, man. That's how I really was in the funk thing. So when I met Diego and I told him my vision, and then I met you, and then I met all the people that's involved in OCMC now, right? And I was able to find some of the pieces, even though you may see some different faces this year, but I'll keep that under my hat, right? It's like, and then I met Tony Cam in Virginia, and he's like, yo, man, we need to link up. So that's why I toured with him, and Tony Cam actually designed this funk jacket.
Yes, sir.
And this jacket right here got my picture, and then on the back, it's got the...
Is that the picture I took of you?
Yeah, this is the picture, bro.
Nice.
See? Right. See, so I see how it works. This is why I wore it, right? So, you know, he and I have collaborated now. I work with him. He works with me, right?
Yeah.
He was the gentleman that was at the last show that we did, Halloween.
Okay.
With the green.
Yeah.
That's Tony Cam. I'm his co-pilot. So all of these things are happening now because now it's our time to hold the funk. George held it for so long. Bootsy held it. Now you got Lettuce. You got Motet. You got all these funk bands, Funk You out of Georgia. You know, all of these funk bands. Gabe Gonzalez up in Detroit. You know, in Megatropolis. The Baltimore connection got a funk thing. It's my time now to do this here because this is what's needed.
Yeah.
This place needs to be completely funked over because that's what's next. So if you ain't on it, That's next. It's here already, right? We're going into our third season. First season of COVID, I don't count, so technically it's our second season.
Right.
We're going into our second season here, and already we're headlining at the major places because they need it. They want it, you know? And when you think about that little scared kid that was 7 years old, standing in front of his mother's coffin, crying because he don't know why she's cold, you know? And then that journey,
up and down and up and down.
all the
up
way
and
to
down.
here
Yeah.
on Inspired Voices, that's what it is.
Yeah. Bro.
That's what it is.
Bro.
And see, that, the ladybugs, seeing you smile, the way you treat me like your family. We've talked off air about a lot of personal stuff. Diego, I think about all of this, right? And I'm proud to sit here today and honored that I can share my story because I hope I inspired somebody with it.
Yeah. That's why I do this, bro. There's that one person that might need it.
Yeah, man. So that's basically what I'm doing, and back in the studio recording. New Year's Eve I'll be in Virginia with Tony Cam and the Funk All Stars.
There you go.
We coming back April 24th down here. I think our first gig down here in April, we touring at the Poorhouse, so we're gonna rip that as we always do. But I'm in a good spot now. I'm happy.
You seem really happy, bro.
Dude, man, let me tell you, I'm ecstatic.
I'm always excited to see you because like your energy is like, yeah, what's up? You
I know, right? Aries, I come in fire. We're gonna light it up. You know what I'm saying? But it's just is I'm grateful and I'm humbled, and the creator, the universe, whatever you want to call it, whatever your one is, that's what it is. Inside of me, my kids are healthy. My one daughter's in high school. I'm proud of my other daughter's in college. My son is in Georgia. He got kids. So the whole thing of life, as I've gotten more mature, has helped me to understand my place here on this planet, in this earth suit, and how I'm supposed to be with people like yourself.
Yeah.
This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. You're exactly where you're supposed to be.
Exactly where I am. Exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And the good thing is, it's just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
Just getting started.
Hey, it don't matter how old you are either.
Nah, I don't even care.
Because
Because I done been like, you played the Twin Towers. You got people like Whoopi Goldberg sitting out there. They're like, what?
Yeah.
What are you going to tell me?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I done been, and I just, did something with Patty the other day.
Yeah.
That's coming out in December.
Nice.
Yeah. So when you have these people call you and they like, yo, I want you to do this interview, you call me. When people of status,
Mm-hmm.
and you are one, allow you to be in their space, they see the good in you, that validates all the stuff that I went through to get to this point.
Yeah, it really does.
And you think back and you take a deep breath, and when it's all said and done, I'm just glad I'm able to document what this journey's about.
Mm-hmm.
Because the journey's about to give back.
Yeah.
And,
it's going to last forever, bro.
Yeah, man. It's like the good feeling I have inside just being around people like yourself and being on the show and understanding what the show's about.
Mm-hmm.
There's no price for that. There's no money for that. It's just, come on. This is life.
Yeah. It's life, bro.
Right, this is life right here.
Fucking
This is the essence.
Yes. Enjoy it. You exist in this world. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah. So let me ask you something really quick. I ain't flipping it, but
You're
if
good.
you had one thing to ask me about this journey, what would it be?
About your journey?
I'm curious, man, because I want to see if I can pinpoint that one spark that got me off the mattress. Because that's what it was, that spark, man. Jeff Roberson, I was getting ready to go.
Yeah.
And I often think, what do people see in me?
Huh. Bro. That's a very hard question because what I see in you, I'm very, like energy is very deep for me, right? I could read energy like a motherfucker. And your energy, I think it's your energy, man.
Thank you.
You have so much happiness inside you that it's contagious. And that's why I'm attracted to you.
Right.
Because of that.
Right.
And it's like with happiness, right? I could tell that you lived a life of struggle, of happiness, of both. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yin and yang.
And exactly. And you understand the balance of life. And that is hard to come by with a lot of people. They don't understand the balance of life. Yeah. And we have to understand that the good and the bad is a part of us. And we have to accept it, be okay with it, learn from it, move on with it, be happy with it.
Yeah. The reason I asked is because I just want to make sure I continue to cultivate that.
That's why I asked. All you have to do is do you, and you're already doing it.
Yeah. I again, I get tears sometimes, but I get touched. I'm emotional. But when I think about, my guardian angels, I call them.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people in my life have passed on and transitioned out, and I'm doing it now for them.
Mm.
You know what I mean? It's a difference. When I did the first Nappy Head, it was for me. Mm-hmm. It was a great band, and we were good, but we weren't selfish, but we were selfish in a good way. We played what we wanted to for us, and people dug it. Now, I'm doing it because I want to give. When I leave the poorhouse or Lincoln, and I walk past them and they're walking out singing lyrics to my song, that's priceless.
That's priceless.
I had that the other day, bro. They was like, "United we stand." I was like, "Yes."
Start singing along with them, dancing along.
I'm like, you know them, you listening, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's that. When I look in the audience and I see people doing their thing, that's why I get emotional up there, because I'm like, okay, be careful what you wish for.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
I could tell when you're on stage, and just by you being you, I could see that kid in you.
Yeah.
And that's what makes me happy. That's what attracts me to you.
Yeah, thank you, man. It is. It's so cool to be free.
Mm-hmm.
So many people are locked up, inside. They want to escape, but they can't for whatever the reason.
And they don't know the meaning of freedom.
Yeah, free from the need to be free is free. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I say that free from the need to be free. Mm-hmm. Because when you can't breathe, and you can't do what you want, like emotionally, not physically, but emotionally, your DNA is screwed up.
Yeah.
Not on purpose. Societal things, stressful things, life issues. The body is one big chemical DNA stardust of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're not aligned, your chakras and everything else are out of whack, it throws off everything around you, that energy that comes off you. And I've been a part of that on both sides of it.
Yeah.
So that's why I want to make sure I keep that light going, man, and spread as much as I can, because who knows? Tomorrow ain't promised to nobody.
Everything is temporary.
Yeah, man, tomorrow ain't promised. And see, the good part about it is the journey is all part of that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I used to look at death as a scary thing. But when I buried Carlton Collier, my bass player that we just buried in August, was the first one of us to go in my band up top.
Yeah. The
first one, and my band down here. It's like 22 people between the two bands. He was the first one. And I thought when I went and, to services and that and pay my respects, I thought I would be all screwed up by it, but I really wasn't. I was shocked at myself. I spoke and everything, and I was like, okay, this is part of the journey now.
Yeah.
Like, this is real.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're at that age now where we're starting to go.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? All gas, no brake.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? If I'm going to do it, it's going to be now.
Yeah.
Because we already sent one of our members off. So I'm like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
It really profoundly hit me that everything I was trying to do, I'm doing, and I was supposed to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm a funk artist. By everybody that I'm around and everybody I talk to, the music and the radio and this and that. And I was like, okay.
You're the funk king.
Yeah, I was right. I was right. I stuck to my guns, and my English teacher, Miss Rich, who told me I had a big mouth. How you like me now? I used to get kicked out of class.
Play your strengths, right? Play your strengths.
I used to get kicked out of class, bro, because I was just just talking a mile a minute.
Yeah.
She said, "You got the biggest mouth in the class. Get out." I was crying in the hallway.
Oh, no.
The principal comes to me and says, "What's the matter?" Right? I said, "She kicked me out of class because she had a big mouth." Right? So he says, "Go to the drum room because that's where you want to go anyway." Because when I used to get kicked out of class, I used to go to the music room, and they used to just let me go and hang out in there.
Nice.
You know, yeah, it was dope. But I remember that hurt me as a kid.
Yeah.
I see certain things that happened to me as a kid are profoundly affected me. I remember things that people said to me. You know, I remember people looking at my window laughing at me when I was trying to practice. So, you know, I tell those people not to brag or anything, but just stick to your guns because there's always going to be people that don't see your vision. But as long as you see it, you good.
Yeah.
You know, you stuck to your vision. Inspired Voices. Your photography business, your videography business, how you deal with people. You're a pillar of the society and the community down here in North Carolina. See, it's that vision. Diego stuck to his vision, no matter how hard or how many naysayers you get. And see, that's what Georgia Bootsy always told me. Unapologetically be you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You ain't got to apologize to nobody for being yourself.
Yeah.
You know, so all of these things, these lessons I learned, I can now pass on to others. And I'm happy. And as well learn and continue my journey.
And being okay being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like no matter if like you don't know if you can trust the person or not, just be vulnerable with everybody. The right people will come to you. Right? And then the rest will follow.
I truly believe that as the world turns and we sync up like we're supposed to, we're doing a lot more good than people want to give us credit for.
Yeah.
Because I see it. I sit back and watch. Wow, that's good. You know, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. I ain't gonna mention no names, but you know, some television stations and radio stations that doubt what you do, this and that. And I done been to them all down here in North Carolina. I would prefer being on your show.
Yeah. I appreciate that, man.
Prefer it.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on the show.
Dude.
Bro. Love
family,
you.
Man.
Love you.
Family, love you too,
sir.
bro.
I appreciate your vulnerability. Keep doing you. And let the stars shine.
I will, bro. I will. Thank you, man. And you're an amazing cat, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Appreciate
proud of you, man.
I appreciate that. Hope you guys enjoyed that episode as much as I have. That is the last episode of season 2 of Inspired Voices. With all these conversations that I have in every episode, I just gain more and more perspective on people's lives, people's stories. We just never know what anyone's going through, honestly. And obviously everybody knows that, but to really understand that could be a different thing. It takes it to a whole new level when you're sitting down with these people and you're listening to their stories and what they've went through, and the ups, the downs, the thought process, their reactions to things. It really helped me gain that perspective to become a better person. Because I'm not perfect. I know I'm not perfect, and I'm still learning. And even if I say things that are very maybe inspirational or motivational, it's like, oh, that guy dude know what he's talking about. I still have to remember for myself to do those things as well. Meditation, hypnosis, little things to take care of me and to help me process things in certain areas of life and whatever it may be. Now, season 3 of Inspired Voices will be up and running the first Tuesday of January. So we were going to be taking a little break for Christmas and New Year's, and then that first Tuesday coming up in January, it's on. It's on with Takara's Bunch. Takara's Bunch is going to be the first guest on Inspired Voices, and I'm looking forward to that one. It's a doozy. I gotta say, it's a doozy. Hope you guys have been inspired as much as I have this season. I'm looking forward to season 3. My name is Oliver Riera, and this is Inspired Voices.